The postgame of Pokemon Black 2 White 2 is definitely something. So recently I went back to the Unova region to finally experience the postgame of Pokemon Black and White, and it was pretty wild. There's clearly a lot more to these games than the base game throws at you. So what about the sequels? When I finally played those a couple of months ago, I only really had a brief amble through some of the postgame areas, mainly to see what the early towns look like 2 years later. So let's go back and venture in a little further, and get a fuller picture of it all. Let's dive back into Unova once again, and venture through the post-game of Pokemon Black 2 White 2. So upon leaving our house as we load back into the game, we're met by Hugh and his little sister, who I've just realised doesn't even have a name. Not that I can find anyway, that's really strange. Anyway, she tells us that she's been having strange dreams lately about a Pokemon called Zoroark, and that in these dreams, it's been calling our name. To which Hugh says, I don't really know what this whole thing is, kid's crazy, but apparently this Zoroark is on Victory Road. Noted. First though, we head across Sky Arrow Bridge, probably my favourite bridge in Unova, although they're all pretty cool. God, I want to see this in full 3D. And as we make our way down towards Pinwheel Forest, we come across Cheren, who says that Team Plasma have been spotted somewhere in the forest. And so, after sharing a quick kiss, we head off to investigate. When I was sifting back through the footage, I accidentally paused at a very perfect moment. I wasn't just going to let that slide. Anyway, as we reach the inner depths of the forest, we come across Gorm. Actually, he sneaks up behind us and says boo, which is just hilariously wholesome for a kingpin of an evil organisation. Gorm was once one of the 7 sages of Team Plasma, but he has no intentions of confronting us or causing any problems here. He just has a moment of introspection and then goes on his way. Kinda similar to how the 7 sages did in the post-game of the original Black and White. Heading down to Straighten City, I wanted to see what the Elemental Monkey gym leaders had done with their gym, and they've turned it into a restaurant. But you can still battle here. Choose which of the 3 brothers you'd like to team up with to battle the other 2. I thought this was a really cool way to bring these 3 trainers back, in a way that got them all involved in the action. I'm one of those total weirdos who actually likes the Elemental Monkeys, go off at me in the comments, but I think they're pretty neat, so I was happy to see them again here. I then stepped into the Dream Yard and was immediately confronted by a Latias. I love Latias, and I am not leaving here until it's on my team. Gotcha. Through Accumula City and down to New Vema Town, we meet the mother of the Black and White protagonists, who basically welcomes us as a newly adopted child. And we pay a short visit to Professor Juniper in the lab, who unfortunately does not echo the same sentiment. She just tells us to get out and catch more Pokemon. But I'm not going to do that. I want to test my mettle against some strong trainers. So first of all, I hear that you can battle against the original Unova champion in the post-game of Pokemon Black 2 White 2. Alder's house sits in the northwest corner of Floccesy Town. And, I'll be honest, my Pokemon were level 90 plus at this point, so I swept him pretty easily. But it was really great to be able to come here and face off against him, seeing as we didn't get to do it anywhere in the base game. After this battle is concluded, Alder's grandson runs in, hyperactively yapping about the fact that he just made it through White Tree Hollow, or Black Tower if you're playing Black 2. So there's a location that's different depending on the version you're playing. White Forest for White version, Black City for Black version. Anyway, this White Tree Hollow is something new to these games, and Alder suggests going there to see if we can make it through and challenge Benga. Okay, let's do that now. Okay, so at White Tree Hollow, you're essentially navigating your way around, taking hints from the trainers you defeat to find your way to the gate boss. Once you beat them, the area is complete and you can move on to the next. Apparently there are 10 areas to complete here, Alder's grandson Benga being the 10th gate boss. And after defeating him, you can find him back in Floccesy Town to receive a shiny Dratini. That makes the grind kinda worth it. I'd recommend doing this early on in the post-game, because then you can train up a shiny Dragonite for the rest of it. Because there's a lot of battling you can do in the post-game of these titles. The Battle Institute, the Royal Unova, Clay Tunnel, Twist Mountain, the Pokemon League again. You can battle Hugh again in Undella Town. If you like your Pokemon battling, the post-game of Pokemon Black 2 White 2 is the place to be. Actually, is Cynthia going to be in this house in Undella Town again? Surely not. Oh my god, she is! Or at least she gives us the option this time. I'll come back later. I need some mental preparation. If you're new to the channel here, you'll notice that I'm kinda skimming over the elements of the post-game that are battle-based. I'm not a huge fan of grinding Pokemon battles in the post-game. I'm more about finding the little nuggets of extra lore and story that are scattered around. But I do make my way through the battle in parts too, just very slowly over an exhaustive amount of time. There's a few familiar things you can do that are similar to the Black and White postgame, like run across Marvelous Bridge and visit the Abundant Shrine, but I wanted to taste something new that Pokemon Black 2 White 2's postgame had to offer. The big one for me, the thing I was most looking forward to, was revisiting N's Castle. While we're heading back up here, I'm reminded of what Hugh's sister said back in Aspertia City, about the Zoroark that's been apparently crying out my name in her dreams. So I wonder if that's going to play a part here. Indeed it does. As we make our way down the mountain, we come face to face with this Zoroark, and following it eventually leads us to the underground entrance to N's Castle. This place is in ruins from when we were here last, but N is still here, and as we walk around with him, he drip feeds us a little more of his backstory. We see his childhood room, and he recounts the tale of growing up in the woods as a child, before Ghetsis came into his life claiming to be his father. That's never been confirmed though. I think it's widely accepted that Ghetsis just adopted N. There's definitely a more melancholic feeling to N's Castle here. In the originals, it was this huge, foreboding, powerful structure, and now it's sunken back into the ground, and all that's left are the remnants of an almighty conflict. Finally, we make it through to the innermost room of the castle, where N challenges us to a battle using Reshiram, or Zekrom in Black 2 version. After defeating him, N reverts the dragon back into its dormant state, taking the form of either the Lightstone or Darkstone, and gives it to us. He's entrusting the legendary to us now, and it's our job to then take the stone to Dragon Spiral Tower, where Reshiram can be summoned once more and caught by the player. I like this. The game could have easily had us battle Reshiram right there in N's Castle, but it went the extra yard in making us earn the opportunity to catch it by travelling to the place where it was originally sealed away thousands of years ago. Once we do catch it, we're immediately greeted by N again, who shares one last moment of reflection with us, reiterating his desire for people and Pokemon to live in true harmony and cooperation someday, and also lets us know that the legendary dragon Kyurem has returned to the Giant Chasm. Travelling over there allows us to catch that, and with the help of the DNA Slicer, we now have the most powerful Pokemon in the game on our team, unless you've transferred in Arceus. It really does surprise me going back to older games like these and seeing how expansive the post-games are. I guess newer games have DLC that expands the world and the story, but they're mostly self-contained extra content. These post-games flesh out the details and provide small bites of closure for the base story, which is much better than that instant emptiness and existential dread that hits as soon as you finish Scarlet and Violet or Sword and Shield. That little extra bit goes a long way. Obviously this post-game expands Black 2 White 2 so much, so I feel kinda bad trying to pick out things that could have been explored more. But I do feel like they leaned very heavily into Pokemon battling. I think they could have sacrificed a small portion of that to provide a little more backstory on certain characters. I kinda wanted a bit more on Team Plasma, and that goes across both Black and White and Black 2 White 2. We get these little monologues from the Seven Sages, but I kinda wanted to get a bigger picture of how exactly it all started. Just a slightly larger peek behind the curtain of Team Plasma. All this is pretty nitpicky though, because we have to remember, postgame isn't something a lot of people play. In fact, it's probably only the real dry spell we're going through with Pokemon at the time of recording that's prompted me to go and explore it. A lot of people are content with the experience they've had once the credits have rolled, and that's okay. The postgame is bonus content for those of us that yearn for certain questions to be properly answered, or want to get our favourite Pokemon to level 100, battle some stronger trainers for the pure challenge of it. So overall I can't complain, especially about these games. There's a lot to do in Unova. Remaking these games is gonna be tough, if they want to include everything that these games included. My hot take is I don't think these games will ever be remade. Maybe remastered? Released as Black and Black 2 or White and White 2 on one cartridge? Obviously there's so much more to Black 2 White 2's postgame than I've covered here, so I want to hand the microphone to you. Did you guys play the postgame of the Unova sequels? And if so, what did you think? What were your highlights and best memories from it? Drop all those down in the comments. While you're down there, hit that like button, it helps a lot. Subscribe for more Pokemon videos. Join the Discord. We've got a great community growing over there, and you'll get sneak peeks at what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching, take it easy, and I'll catch you all in the next one.